we can actually relate to a lot of things that you just said, because those parallels are very similar to what is happening in Kashmir as well. Because there was a concerted effort to make this conflict into a generational one, but it turns out that after a few recent political events within India and in the subcontinent, this is not turning out to be a generational conflict, and there is a general change in the sense of perception by the local Kashmiris as well. So I'm sure there are commonalities here. To what degree do you think this is also achieved by Israel's normalizing ties with several countries in the Middle East?
Oh, I do think that's very important also. I mean, I regard the Abraham Accords of 2020 as of profound historic importance, because as we're seeing, and especially with regard to Israel's relations with United Arab Emirates, which are really at the center of this, this is a qualitatively different kind of relationship to one which Israel has had with any Arab state in the past. Of course, Israel has been at peace with Egypt since 1979, with Jordan since 1994, and these are crucial anchors in Israel's stance vis-a-vis the region. But these have never been peaceful relations between the societies. There has never been extensive economic activity between Israel and elements within either of these countries. These were cold diplomatic peace agreements between governments and authorities. With the UAE, it's already possible to see it's very different. You have tourism between even in the context of COVID-19, now hopefully fading into the background, hopefully at least, large scale travel both ways, especially Israelis traveling to UAE, flourishing business and trade relations, even just a year or just over a year into these relationships. It's a very, very different relationship. And I do think that UAE is proposing, a different Arab view of Israel, which is no less traditional, no less Islamic in its nature. It's not a westernized view on any level. It's a traditional view, but it's one which understands the legitimacy and rootedness, or is prepared to engage with the legitimacy and rootedness of Jewish territorial and national claims and aspirations in this country. This is very new. This is not just a superficial change. It's not just rhetoric. It's a very profoundly different. It opens a space, so to speak, for a very different conversation to take place. And I do believe that in the period ahead, we will begin to find that conversation also impacting on the connection between Israelis and Palestinian Arabs, or Arabic speakers here, Arabs here, much closer to home. I think it will gradually come to have an effect. It goes back to what we were saying earlier, that there is a generation here now, or at least there are a significant number of individuals here now, who understand that Israel is a permanent presence, who understand the seriousness and rootedness and groundedness of our project here and of our aspirations here, and also understand that we can be coexisted with. We're not here in any hostility to our neighbors, and the UAE and Abraham Accords, I think, has opened the door to that conversation. It's already having profound practical effects on the ground vis-a-vis UAE and Bahrain relationship with Israel, but I think it will also, and it must also eventually impact back on the relations closer to home. And I think that's a cause for some guarded optimism in this regard. We tend to be careful of optimism around here, because so often, optimism and hopes end up being severely tempered by subsequent experience, let's say. But with regard to this area, I genuinely think something quite profound has shifted, and we're just at the start of a very interesting and potentially very rewarding journey, so to speak.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. धन्यवाद, नमस्कार.